When I was growing up in school, I was devastated if I got anything other than an A. And as I went through my first couple of personal development programs, man, I was so determined that I was gonna come out of those programs at the top of my class, and I was gonna have the biggest transformation and changes. So I'd work and work and work and work, but it was never enough. And then so I'd work harder and work harder, and then I still felt like it wasn't enough. And by the time I got to the end of a $10,000 program, I was like, I don't feel like I progressed hardly at all. What's going on? So I'm going to be sharing with you a technique to help you not have that kind of experience as you go through our program. So like I kind of shared in the intro, when I went through my first personal development class, it was a $10,000 6-month class. And I was determined that I was going to make big, huge changes. And, I'd go through the modules and I'd meet with a coach once a month and go to a group session once a month. And when I go to those coaching sessions once a month, she would ask me, so, what were your wins for this week? Like, what went really well? What's going well for you? And I'd always kind of be like, I don't know. I'm not sure what went well for me. And by the time I got to the end of the program, I felt like in those coaching sessions, I was still talking about the same old things, just like what had happened to me in therapy for years. And since then, though, luckily, I have learned about a technique that helps me feel like I am progressing, I am moving forward, I can see that progress, and it just helps me feel so much better. So I want to teach this to you, and with the intention that this will be incorporated into your everyday life so that you can feel good about the progress you're making in this program. So it's based off of one of my favorite books, The Gap and the Gain. This is by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Now, we don't require that you read this. We don't want to overwhelm you, but if you have extra time to read or listen to it, then I highly recommend it. So what is the gap in the gain? I'm going to draw a picture, and I'm not much of an artist, so this should be interesting. All right, so this is you and where you're at today. Yay! And then this is where you were maybe when you started on your journey, whether that was a week ago or 2 years ago, or maybe it was 10 years ago. And this is where you want to go. So this is maybe a goal you'd like to set or an intention you'd like to set for the end of this program. So you've got this distance here and this distance here. This distance right here, where you're comparing where you're at right now with where you want to be, this is what we call the gap. That's this distance. So what does that actually mean? So the gap is when you are so focused on getting the A or finishing the program. Maybe it's to heal a relationship, maybe it's to gain more abundance, whatever that is for you. You become so focused on reaching this goal that it actually, what does that make you feel? It brings, negative feelings, right? Because you feel like it's such a far gap right there. When I first started that first program, my mentor was making, 6 figures every year. And I was like, I haven't even really started a business yet. And maybe I kind of want to start a business, but I don't know. But that felt like it was so far away that I felt hopeless. And it was really discouraging, and it really affected my ability to be successful in the course, because I just felt like there was such a huge distance here from where I was to where I wanted to go. I was really discouraged. So how do you turn that around? You focus on the gain. So what does that look like? This space right here is the gain. From where you started to where you are now, you are always progressing and always moving forward. Even during those times where you feel like you're not doing anything, sometimes just being still and just relaxing is healing. And as you are healing, you are progressing. So there's really no such thing as not progressing in life, because you are always progressing, always, always. Even if you're just being still. Sometimes that's a period to just be creative or be quiet or to heal. And so this, instead of measuring from where we are to where we want to go, we measure backwards instead. So we see how far we've come. So for me, that was 4 years ago, and I left an abusive marriage. I started over. I really dug in with therapy. And then I met Jason, and I learned all about energy work, and that catapulted my healing journey times 10. And so if I look back to where I was 4 years ago, the changes in me are just amazing. It's really hard to comprehend. So how do we kind of keep this front and center in mind as we go through a program like this? We keep a gain journal. So how is this different than a gratitude journal? You may be wondering. I grew up in a religious background, and we were encouraged to journal and be grateful for what you have and all of that. And so I would write things like, I'm grateful that I had food to eat tonight at dinner. I'm grateful that my car got me to work today. But in my mind, I was thinking, even though my car broke down or I ran out of gas and I don't have money for gas. And so, even though I was trying to be grateful, I was doing that because I was supposed to, right? And I was supposed to be grateful for what I had. Whereas the gains journal, this is focusing on like the little things. So for me, that was, as I started this and started recording my gains a little over a year ago, it was things like, well, instead of it taking me 2 days to get out of a funk like it used to, today it only took me 1 day and I was feeling better. Or now I'm to the point where when I got triggered today, I was able to shift that in about 2 minutes. Whereas 4 years ago, it would have taken me 3 or 4 days after getting triggered to be able to shift that. So it's the little things, but sometimes those little things are actually big things. And so being able to record these gains and then look back on them helps us feel the opposite. It helps us feel self-confident and positive. And it gives us this boost to keep trying and keep going because we can see how far we've come. And so it is really important to consistently record your gains every single day because that is what's going to help you stay focused, stay centered. Now, it's still good to have goals because we want to have something that we're working towards. But we do that by focusing on how far we've come because then we stay in a place of gratitude and love. And then the next steps to get to this will drop in. Somebody will come into our life and give us a missing piece, or we'll get an extra $20, which allows us to do, this next step. And so rather than focusing on like the 200 steps we have to take to be able to get here, we're focused on the 200 steps we've already taken, which puts us in gratitude and self-confidence. And then we get the little things that drop in to help us keep moving forward. And it sounds kind of wonky and like reverse psychology, but it actually works because I've used this a lot and it totally works. Being consistent about recording your gains and learning how to turn a gap into a gain are crucial for success. They're crucial for you to feel successful, for you to feel like you're progressing forward. So if this resonated with you, I'd love for you to share what gains have you had this past week. Put them in the comments below and let's kind of generate this positive energy around focusing on the gains instead of the gap, especially, as you are setting goals and stuff like that. You want to focus on how far you've come. So post those in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to our Emotions by Design channel so that you can get more tips and tricks. And I'll see you in the next video.